Proverbs 20, Phase 1. 1. Wine is a mocker, strong drink a brawler, and whoever is led astray by it is not wise. This is saying intoxicants don't just affect behavior, they shape character. What promises relief ends up mocking the one who trusts it. 2. The terror of a king is like the growl of a lion. Whoever provokes him forfeits his life. This teaches that authority, when ignored or challenged foolishly, carries real consequences. 3. It is an honor for a man to keep away from strife, but every fool will quarrel. This tells us wisdom isn't proven by winning arguments, but by knowing when not to fight. 4. The sluggard does not plow in season, then he shall beg in harvest and have nothing. This means laziness delays obedience, then complains when results never come. 5. The purpose in a man's heart is like deep water, but a man of understanding draws it out. This teaches that wisdom listens deeply and patiently, uncovers what others hide, even from themselves. 6. Many proclaim their own loyalty, but a faithful man who can find. This is saying words are common, proven faithfulness is rare. 7. The righteous walks in his integrity. Blessed are his children after him. This tells us integrity doesn't end with the individual, it shapes generations. 8. A king who sits on the throne of judgment winnows all evil with his eyes. This means true authority discerns rightly. Evil cannot hide long under honest judgment. 9. Who can say, I have made my heart pure? I am clean from my sin. This teaches humility. Self-declared righteousness is already suspect. 10. Unequal weights and unequal measures are both alike an abomination to the Lord. This is saying God condemns dishonesty, not just in business, but in standards themselves. 11. Even a child makes himself known by his acts, by whether his conduct is pure and upright. This teaches character reveals itself early and consistently. 12. The hearing ear and the seeing eye. The Lord has made them both. This tells us perception itself is a gift, and therefore accountability follows. 13. Do not love sleep, lest you come to poverty. Open your eyes, and you will have enough bread. This means complacency dulls survival. Attentiveness sustains life. 14. Bad, says the buyer, but when he goes his way, then he boasts. This teaches how deception disguises itself as negotiation. 15. There is gold in abundance of costly stones, but the lips of knowledge are a precious jewel. This is saying wisdom spoken rightly outweighs material wealth. 16. Take a man's garment when he has put up security for a stranger, and hold it in pledge when he puts it up for foreigners. This teaches prudence. Generosity without discernment becomes self-harm. 17. Bread gained by deceit is sweet to a man, but afterward his mouth will be full of gravel. This tells us stolen pleasure always turns destructive. 18. Plans are established by counsel. By wise guidance, wage war. This means isolation breeds failure. Counsel guards against ruin. 19. Whoever goes about slandering reveals secrets. Therefore, do not associate with a simple babbler. This teaches discretion in relationships. Talkers cannot be trusted with truth. 20. If one curses his father or his mother, his lamp will be put out in utter darkness. This is saying dishonoring authority severs one's future. 21. An inheritance gained hastily in the beginning will not be blessed in the end. This teaches timing matters. Premature gain often carries long-term loss. 22. Do not say, I will repay evil. Wait for the Lord, and he will deliver you. This tells us vengeance corrupts trust. Patience preserves justice. 23. Unequal weights are an abomination to the Lord, and false scales are not good. This reinforces that God judges systems, not just actions. 24. A man's steps are from the Lord. How then can man understand his way? This teaches humility. Direction comes from God, not self-mastery. It is a snare to say rashly it is holy and to reflect only after making vows. This warns that impulsive spirituality leads to regret. 26. A wise king winnows the wicked and drives the wheel over them. This means righteous leadership confronts evil rather than tolerating it. 27. The spirit of man is the lamp of the Lord, searching all his innermost parts. This teaches conscience is God's instrument of exposure. 28. Steadfast love and faithfulness preserve the king, and by steadfast love his throne is upheld. This tells us authority is sustained by character, not force. 29. The glory of young men is their strength, but the splendor of old men is their gray hair. This teaches every season has its honor when rightly embraced. 30. Blows that wound cleanse away evil. Strokes make clean the innermost parts. This means discipline, though painful, restores what comfort cannot. Proverbs 20, Phase 2, Historical and Cultural Anchorings. Proverbs 20 reflects a structured society shaped by authority, agriculture, family hierarchy, and commerce. Kings held judicial power. Markets relied on honest weights. Family honor formed the backbone of social stability. Laziness during planting season meant real hunger later. Dishonesty in trade threatened communal trust. Discipline, reputation, and accountability were not abstract ideas. They were survival mechanisms in a tightly connected world where actions had visible consequences. Leadership is portrayed not as symbolic, but active. Rulers judged, corrected, and restrained evil. Family structures were likewise central. Dishonoring parents was understood as a fracture of the moral order itself. This chapter assumes a world where moral failures quickly produce tangible fallout. Modern application. This chapter translates seamlessly into modern life. Unequal scales still exist, now in contracts, data manipulation, selective truth, and shifting moral standards. Laziness shows up as procrastination, avoidance, or comfort-driven living. Authority still carries weight, whether in institutions, workplaces, or homes, and reckless defiance still produces loss. Proverbs 20 challenges a culture that celebrates speed, shortcuts, and self-justification. It calls today's reader to patience over impulse, counsel over isolation, integrity over image, and discipline over indulgence. The ancient warnings remain current because human nature has not changed. Only the tools have. Linguistic anchorings. The Hebrew structure of Proverbs 20 leans heavily on contrast and consequence. Statements are concise but weighty, often pairing an action with its inevitable outcome. Terms tied to honesty, discipline, and discernment are repeated to reinforce moral cause and effect. Words related to vision, light, and measurement appear frequently, emphasizing discernment and evaluation, seeing clearly, judging rightly, and measuring honestly. The poetic economy of the original language sharpens impact, making each line suitable for memorization and oral teaching, which aligns with how Proverbs was historically transmitted. Theological anchorings. The chapter emphasizes God as the ultimate evaluator of motives, systems, and outcomes. Human plans, perceptions, and judgments are limited, while God oversees steps, conscience, and justice. Discipline is framed not as cruelty, but as refinement, a means by which God cleanses and restores from within. God's intolerance of false scales highlights his concern not only with individual sin, but with corrupted standards. Authority, when righteous, reflects God's own justice. When corrupted, it invites judgment. Faithfulness, integrity, and humility align a life with divine order, while deception and arrogance invite collapse. Key themes. Integrity over appearance. God weighs motives, not just outcomes. Discipline as restoration. Correction purifies where comfort cannot. Consequences of laziness. Delay and avoidance produce long-term loss. Honest standards. God condemns systems built on deception. Wise counsel. Victory and stability come through guidance, not isolation. Authority and accountability. Power is upheld by faithfulness, not force. Closing thought. Proverbs 20 reminds us that wisdom is not passive. It works through restraint, patience, discipline, and honest self-examination. This chapter exposes the lie that shortcuts lead to blessing, and instead affirms that lasting stability is built slowly through integrity. God's wisdom governs both the visible and hidden parts of life, from public systems to private conscience. Reflection prompts. Where might unequal scales exist in how you judge yourself or others? Are there areas where delay or comfort is quietly producing loss? Who are the voices of wise counsel in your life, and are you listening? How does discipline, rather than indulgence, shape spiritual growth today?